When I first saw Regular Show as a 4-year-old back in 2010, I didn't like it. I never understood the jokes or what was going on. Years later, when I was older and understood the jokes a little more, I loved it. The show, or at least the first few seasons, weren't meant for little Johnny playing Dora and Finding Nemo on his Leapfrog Quick Start. Do they still make those? No? Wow. I feel old and I'm only 12. Point being that this show was aimed for older kids, not downright adults, but up to the point where it's not just slapstick and toilet jokes. Regular Show has been on the air for 6 years by the time the finale came out. Over the course of 6 years, Mordecai and Rigby have given us some crappy episodes. Some episodes are stupid, some can be mean-spirited, and some are just bad turning points for the series. Now, I don't think that there aren't lots of good episodes. There are mostly great episodes. Just with some of the good comedy and writing, it sucks to see a bad episode. And these are my opinions, and my opinion shouldn't affect yours. Finally, there are spoilers to each of these episodes. Alright, cue the intro!
Life is too short, we gotta do things right. So baby, let's just party tonight. Baby, let's just party tonight.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Replaced. Starting off our list is replaced. Mordecai and Rigby see that their jobs are going to 2 other guys like them. They don't want to lose their jobs, so they try to sabotage Chad and Jeremy's task in cleaning the boats. Their attempts get from stupid to downright cringy. I can't really relate to Mordecai and Rigby in this episode. Chad and Jeremy are simply 2 normal guys trying to get a job, and Mordecai and Rigby are just getting in the way of everything. And to wrap up the episode, everyone starts fighting each other just for the sake of fighting. After one of the monsters yells, "Fight!" Isn't that what everybody wanted? No, it isn't. But, it's only number 10 because it's not downright insulting. Let's just move on to the next one.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Muscle Woman. In my opinion, Starla is not horrible like most fans say. She is mediocre. If this makes sense, which it probably won't, Starla isn't mediocre because she is bad as a character, but because in most episodes where she and Muscle Man are the 2 main characters, the episodes aren't always that good. This isn't an exception. Starla dumps Muscle Man and he becomes depressed. I've been keeping track. Almost every time one character dumps another character, the character who got dumped becomes depressed. Anyway, the people at the park try to get them together again. Especially after seeing the later episodes, it feels weird seeing Starla not caring about dumping Muscle Man. The weirdest thing is Starla falling in love with Mordecai. The part where Starla gets dumped for Mordecai is just cringy.
Get off of me!
What's wrong, Dumpling?
I'll tell you what's wrong. I don't like you.
And it's a shame that Starla's character has a bad start. Yes, you are right. This is Starla's debut, and not a good one at that.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
It's time. It is time for a bad episode. Man, this episode has some great jokes. I cracked up at the Pajama Sisters 2 trailer. But why is it on here? Because Rigby acts like a donkey to Mordecai in this episode. He asks Margaret out to a zombie movie and won't call it off unless Mordecai admits he's jealous.
Okay, I'll give you another chance if you admit that you're jealous.
Mordecai won't do it, and so Rigby proceeds to get ready. Pretty much everyone gives Mordecai a hard time, even the writers. Mordecai is supposed to be the villain in this episode for trying to cancel Rigby and Margaret's date. But the bad part is that Rigby, who has absolutely no interest in Margaret, asks her out, knowing that Mordecai has a giant crush on her. Anyway, Mordecai ends up microwaving all the clocks, and they get into a time paradox thingy. I don't know. This episode would have gotten higher on the list if it wasn't for 2 reasons. A, this episode has a lot of good jokes. And B, this is the important one. Rigby gets what he deserves. What happens to him, you may ask? Mordecai pushes off a microwave and accidentally kills him.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Lame Lockdown. Despite being over 2 years old, this is still the most recent episode on the list. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like the idea of the park being a dome until season 8 where they go into space. I didn't like the scientists, except for Pam, she was okay. In this one, Colonel Sanders' younger brother tells Mordecai and Rigby they can't leave the dome for 24 hours or they're fired. Also, he threatens to fire Benson too. This episode really made me hate the scientists, especially the one that does this stupid lockdown. For what? Using a stupid car? The worst part is that they really wanted to see the concert and they got press passes for Margaret. But nope, 24 hours in the park. I mean, they sneak out anyway. Who do you think they are? The golden employees who never broke a single rule in their life? At least, in the end, Benson tells this hypocrite to shut up and stay out of their faces. Winger can get hit by a bus for all I care.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
New Year's Kiss. Remember how I said that some episodes were bad turning points for the series? This is one of those episodes. Mordecai finds a girl that he wants to ask out to the New Year party. This is after Margaret left for college, which is why I didn't ask her out. Rigby learns that he has to stop Mordecai from kissing her at 12 because Mordecai will be happier, because she is using him to get back together with Tommy. So what does Rigby get for looking out from his friend? Mordecai thinks he's a liar. Skip says that he's gonna fail.
Oh, you're probably gonna fail.
What?
His future self doesn't help with crap until the end, and when he actually gets help, it's because he's locked in a bathroom by Mordecai. Not to mention how unlikable Tracy is. She's supposed to be the stereotype that dates a guy to get another one jealous. She is a crappy one at that. And finally, within the last minutes, we get reintroduced to CJ, Mordecai's second love interest. What a bad turning point for this series.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
The unicorns have got to go. What a shame. Due to Season 1's short length of 12 episodes and being a part of the Golden Age, Season 1 could have been the only season with nothing but great episodes. Then this episode comes along and ruins the ride. The unicorns are extremely unlikable and annoying. They go from mediocre and kind of annoying to infuriating pieces of crap that made me want them dead by the end of the episode. My wish came true. So the story here is that Mordecai buys cologne that attracts unicorns instead of ladies. Okay, that's pretty stupid anyway. All these guys want to do is hang out like bros. Mordecai says he used the cologne to attract Margaret. Unicorns agree to help him get Margaret, which doesn't work. So the Unicraps throw a party at their place and wreck everything. Mordecai regrets his decision and leaves. Then the unicorns go to their worst phase. What ends up happening? They break Rigby's bed, splash soda in his face, fart in his face, and what made me hate them the most was kidnapping Benson, tying him to a door, and eating his gumballs.
You know this nerd? Check this out. What's the matter, Rigbone? You like that nerd or something?
That could have been a good adult joke if I didn't hate these guys. I'm glad they exploded at the end. Good riddance, unicorns.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Sad Sacks. Oh great, the episode right after my least favorite special, Merry Christmas Mordecai, which would have made it on here if there were specials allowed on this list. After CJ sees Mordecai and Margaret kiss on Christmas, she runs off, and now Mordecai has to apologize and convince her that he and Margaret aren't in a relationship. Also, Rigby, in his negative 4 minutes of screen time, tells Mordecai not to trust the advice he gets. He gets this advice from the Sad Sax guy, a shirtless man who plays a saxophone. Yeah, someone who'll give great advice. Mordecai keeps failing to clarify everything. Sad Sax guy gives out horrible advice, like Mordecai faking his death, and getting Margaret, who is probably the last person CJ wants to hear, to talk to CJ. Then at the end, Sad Sax guy isn't even the one who gives the advice that wins CJ back. Mordecai's mom ends up doing it. So what was the even point of him being in the episode? Then he ends up going to the hospital because of some idiotic construction workers who beat him, even after saying that his work was amazing. This is the worst episode of the worst season of a great cartoon.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Yes, dude, yes. Oh god, we're getting into the top 3 worst episodes of the show. Mordecai gets tickets to a movie and sees if Margaret wants to come. Then he sees some guy kneeling to Margaret and she yells,
Yes, dude, yes.
which makes Mordecai assume that she's engaged to him, and then he falls into depression. Rigby tries to get him on online dating and he meets a bunch of girls. Most of them he doesn't like. Then he comes across one that we see until the season 6 finale, CJ, for the first time ever. They decide to just be friends and realize that they like each other. He finds out that it was Margaret's cousin showing her his wooden leg. Then he pulls out one of the dumbest moves ever. He invites Margaret even though he invited CJ, which makes her mad, and she becomes an angry storm. He's able to calm her down and she stops being his friend, and we don't see her until season 5. Margaret becomes jealous and walks away. Rigby is overseeing the movie, so Mordecai ends up seeing the movie with Margaret's cousin instead.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
Do me a solid. This has to be one of the most hated regular show episodes by fans of the show. And well, it's number 2, so you can tell I hate it too. Eileen asks Rigby out to a date with Mordecai, Margaret, and herself. Rigby doesn't want to do it. Mordecai tells him that if he does it, he'll give him 10 solids. Rigby uses them all to ruin his date and his chances with Margaret in many different ways. I just feel bad for Mordecai this entire time, how Rigby is a jerk. This difference between here and its time is that Rigby never gets what he deserves. The entire date is ruined by him, by giving him hot food which he spits on Margaret by accident, by making him take the blame for a fake fart, and makes him do God knows what at the end. It looks like he makes Mordecai lay an egg. Not to mention that when Mordecai doesn't do his solid, the world almost falls apart and everyone almost dies. But when Rigby says he won't do the solid in the beginning, absolutely nothing happens. Not to mention that Mordecai finds out that Margaret didn't really want to go on the date right before he does the final solid. And the ending where Rigby breaks the tape and tries to redeem himself is pretty weak. Oh, so cool, he broke the tape. He's automatically redeemed, even though he did it in front of everyone. This episode is pretty bad, but there was one even worse.
Who flaked on me for some girl who doesn't even know he exists?
I'll kill you! Rigby!
The Longest Weekend.
We need to spend the weekend apart to test the strength of our love.
Well, here we go. The worst episode in the show. I would give them credit for referencing The Longest Day, but The Simpsons did it better in 2012 with the short The Longest Day here that played right before Ice Age Continental Drift. Anyway, in this episode, Starla tells Muscle Man right after a stupid movie that they have to spend a weekend apart or she'll dump him. Muscle Man is pretty miserable without Starla. His conscience keeps telling him that Starla didn't mean it. Turns out he was right. Next time we see Starla, she is sad that he hasn't called her yet. Margaret tells her it's because of what she said, and she says,
Well, I didn't mean it.
She says this in such a way that it seems like she thinks that it's Muscle Man's fault. Everyone else agrees that it is stupid. Margaret even says that couples should be together. The park employees take turns watching him until Sunday at 12 o'clock midnight. They are both extremely miserable without each other. Muscle Man is just a sad shell of a man in an episode. Back in the earliest episodes of Regular Show, Muscle Man was an ego-filled party animal. Now he can't pull himself together. The episode ends with them howling like wolves, and then they turn into fireballs and blow up each other at midnight. This wasn't a fun ride. It was honestly sad to see Muscle Man become unstable just because of Starla's stupidity. This gets the crown for the worst episode of Regular Show. Despite these bad episodes, Regular Show is still a great show with good characters, funny writing, and lots of dedication. J.G. Quintel came a long way from the naive man from Lollyland in 2005 to now. Most of the time, you'll find good episodes of this show, especially from seasons 1 to 3. In my opinion, Regular Show will always remain one of the best Cartoon Network shows of all time. And if there's anything that I would recommend, I'd recommend watching it. Have yourself a fantastic day.